Welcome to all the friends from the media, representatives of various people's organizations, environmentalists, academics, activists, uh, student organizations who are part of this important press conference today. This press conference is jointly called for and organized by the Coalition for Environmental Justice in India, SEGI, the National Alliance of People's Movements, and the People's Union for Civil Liberties. Three national level campaigns and movement groups which have for very long been speaking about and organizing on issues of environmental rights, social justice, and democratic rights in this country. Friends, as all of us know, we are at a very critical juncture today in our democracy where the very fundamental right to organize, to dissent, and to express solidarity in even the most peaceful ways is being criminalized and targeted by the state. This has been going on for many years, but we've also been seeing an increasing trend of state crackdown on young voices, be it youth who are part of the labor rights movement or youth who are part of the farmers movement, youth who are part of the environmental and climate justice movement. So one after the other, what we are increasingly seeing is young people being targeted for being part of these movements, for organizing in peaceful ways and expressing solidarity. We are also at a very important moment where in the past few months, we've had a historic farmers resistance in the most peaceful and organized way. And lakhs of people across constituencies have expressed solidarity with the farmers' struggle. And also, since it is an issue that concerns all of us, it is an issue that is linked to the environment, it is linked to basic democratic rights. And one of the important constituencies that has stood in solidarity with the farmers' resistance are students, young people, youth, environmental activists. What, as we all know, has happened in the past few days is the targeting specifically of some of these environmental activists, including jailing of one person and criminal proceedings against some others. Through the course of this press conference, many senior Sathis, activists, and others, artists, would alumni of one of the persons who is currently jailed, would speak about how this entire move is draconian, disproportionate, and does not, in fact, respond to the concerns of the youth, the questions that the young people are asking, and the questions that are so fundamental to the health of our democracy. So we have with us T.M. Krishna from Tamil Nadu, a well-known musician. We have with us Medha Patkar from National Alliance of People's Movements. We have Professor Sandeep Pandey, social activist and socialist party from Uttar Pradesh. We have with us Kavita Srivastav from People's Union for Civil Liberties. We have Ram from Indigenous Perspectives, Manipur. We have Naga from Teachers Against Climate Crisis, and many other speakers who would address this press conference. With me is Ashish Kothari, well-known environmentalist, activist, writer who has been working extensively on environmental issues for more than 4 decades. We also have with us in the panel many other fellow environmental activists who've had many decades of journey in this struggle, and all of us appalled at the direction that our country is taking and the manner in which young activists are being targeted. We have Leo Saldana from the Environment Support Group. We have Niti from Vetiver Collective, Vinay from Karnataka, and many other speakers who would and Sathis who would also, some of them would make brief interventions and also take questions from the press. We thank all the press and media friends who've joined. We understand that there has been a minor technical glitch and we apologize for that, but thank you all for joining despite that. And I very briefly now request Ashish to also give us a context of the current press conference and thereupon call on the first speaker to make their brief intervention. The only request being, since this is a press conference for about 1 hour, our request to all the speakers is to make a brief intervention of 2 to 3 minutes and express your core concerns about the current state of affairs. And then we will also have a round of Q&A from the press friends. Ashish.
Thank you, Meera. Did you introduce yourself?
Oh, no.
कर लीजिए.
I am Meera Sanghamitra and I volunteer with the National Alliance of People's Movements. And also,
Thank,
we will try and have this in both English and Hindi to the extent possible.
thank you, Meera. Already, I think आपने थोड़ा सा context दे ही दिया है. The current situation that a lot of young activists are facing, kind of crackdown by the state. You've given that context. I think it's also important to point out 2 or 3 other things. One is that these young activists and a whole lot of others, including many who are on the call who will be speaking today, have been raising issues of serious concern with regard to at least 3 aspects of our current situation. One, the kinds of very severe economic deprivations and insecurity that hundreds of millions of people in India are facing, as we've seen, for instance, in the pandemic, exposed in the pandemic and lockdown period. Secondly, the ecological collapse that we are seeing all around us, even as long back as 15 years ago, there was a very detailed report which showed that India was already using 1.5 times the natural resources it could sustain. And the situation today is much worse. And this government has actually used the pandemic period to take forward decisions that actually will adversely impact the environment even more, knowing fully well that a lot of protest on the ground has not been possible. Just today, the UN Secretary General has issued a statement saying that the 3 biggest crises that humanity faces are climate, pollution, and biodiversity loss. It is something that all countries need to take very centrally as concern, but we realize that the state is not doing it, and that's exactly why these young activists are speaking out. And the third, of course, is the farmers' crisis, which everybody had forgotten until the farmers' agitation a few months back started. And so, as Meera said, there's been a lot of outpouring of solidarity. And what is also wonderful from our point of view is that this is cross-sectoral, cross-sectional, and young environmental activists who may otherwise have only been talking about biodiversity and pollution and so on are actually squarely also supporting the farmers movement, because they realize that there is a very close, intricate connection between agriculture, food, farming, and the environment and livelihoods. So it is in the context of the sort of very serious crises that all of these sectors are facing, and the state crackdown on anybody who speaks about them, who challenges state policy and programs, that we are organizing this press conference. And each of our speakers will go a little bit more into detail on some of these issues. With that, I'd like to call on CM Krishna. As Meera introduced, Krishna is a very well-known Carnatic vocalist, a writer, an activist, has been supporting a lot of social and environmental causes over the last few years, going beyond what is the conventional boundaries of what a musician is supposed to be. Krishna, over to you. 2 minutes, please.
Yes, thank you, Ashish. I'm just going to address 2 parts. One is who is the aggressor, who are the aggressors, and who are the targets. For long, initially, we were told that a lot of this was happening from within quotes, fringe groups. That fringe groups were basically those who are targeting those who are marginalized, those who are raising their voice, young people who are even walking the streets. Let's not even get to activists. We're talking about everybody else that are being targeted. We were told they were fringe groups. And then it became very clear that the state itself is an aggressor on anyone who asks difficult questions. So we have to now recognize this concept of fringe groups is a smokescreen. There are no fringe groups. There is one group of aggressors who are either in government or who are aiding the government to be aggressors. This is the set of people we are talking about. So whether they are in power socially and politically, and therefore the aggression is seen through private group action or through governmental action, and both happens together. I think this recognition by all of us is very essential today. Now, how are they targeting the young people? I think they're targeting the young people in 2 ways. One is, as we have seen with Disha, basically it is a threat to any young person who wants to get involved in social and political and environmental causes. It's a warning to everybody else. It's a warning to parents. But there's also something else that has been happening for a long time. And this morning, it was highlighted in one question that is part of a question paper that is given by a school for an examination. I'm going to read that question to you. The question is this. writing, it's an English exam, the diabolical violence that broke out in the national capital on Republic Day filled the hearts of the citizens with condemnation and abhorrence after the farm law protesters went on a rampage, destroying public property and attacking police personnel in broad daylight. Write a letter to the editor of a daily newspaper in your city, condemning such terrible, violent acts of miscreants who fail to realize that country comes before personal needs and gains, destroying public property, disgracing the national flag, and attacking police personnel, a few of the various illegal offenses committed that can never be justified for any reason whatsoever. Suggest few measures from your end to thwart such violent maniacs who act under external instigation. This was a question today in a question paper by an English teacher in a school. This is indoctrination. This is teaching violence. The discussions are still out there about what happened in Delhi. So we have to realize there are two kinds of attacks happening on young people. One is frontal, which is telling them bluntly, shut up and stay at home, be good young boys and girls. The other is poisoning the minds of young people by what they are taught in school, so they can't think freely and they can't come into their own conclusions of complex things. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Krishna. Sandeep, आप mute कर देंगे, please. Thanks, Krishna. Can we move over to Kavita? Is Kavita there?
Yeah, I think Kavita was there.
Yeah, I'm there.
Please, go ahead.
Can my video be, is it something, am I audible?
Yes.
Kavita.
Okay.
If you can also,
My video, I don't know whether it's
And
showing
visible.
or not.
नहीं चल रहा, we can see.
Okay. Firstly, congratulations to the Environmental Support Group and all others to have called this press conference. It was really required. We've all issued press notes on behalf of our organization, but I'm very glad this is the first national step of all of us to come together and condemn what has recently happened. I want to begin by the statement that our youth were living the life that Rabindranath Tagore dreamed of, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. And I come here, I'm very emotional. I come here, yes, on behalf of the PUC, but I also come as a mother, as a parent, as an aunt, and I don't want our young people to be tortured and persecuted, and I don't want the young people like Disha Ravi, Nordeep Kaur, Natasha, Devangana, and all the others, Amulya, to be treated so shabbily. And therefore, while condemning what they've done, it has to go well beyond, all the legal rights of her constitutional rights, Disha Ravi's constitutional rights have been brazenly violated. I have serious objection to the reason for why she was arrested as a civil liberties person or as a lay person. How can I be arrested if I'm asserting my freedom of speech and expression? She was editing, sharing a document. She was on a Zoom call. Isn't that what the toolkit is, which was just enabling young people to know more about this, about the issue of the farmer struggle? I really think that to be arrested for such a thing, we have to demand immediate withdrawal of this prosecution that Disha Ravi is being subjected to, apart from the fact that Delhi police is a law unto itself. There's complete lawlessness when it comes to Delhi police. There's no rule of law in our country. It seems to be declining. But Delhi police, the way it violated the procedures, the procedure of arrest, interstate arrest, their safeguards, what they did to her and the way they brought her to Delhi. For that, we have to demand action against those who did it, apart from demanding withdrawal of all prosecution. We also have to demand the repeal of 124A and the UAPA. This has become the latest tool because constantly, whenever whenever the Modi government is in a crisis, whenever there are movements who are changing the perception that he has tried to create, the narrative that they try to give out, every time there is a challenge to that, like what the farmers movement did, Hindu nationalism has to come at the core, and the rest of us are anti-national, our national security gets threatened. I conclude here by also adding that let's take, we have to give a call to all our parents who have now withdrawn their children from social media. I belong to Jaipur. We did a protest. The young people just didn't come. We brought some of them. They wouldn't speak. They've been told by their parents that parents are not going to support them. They've been asked to deactivate the social media. We have to give a call to our parents not to succumb to this fear. We have to give a call to our youth to continue doing what they're doing, and all of us have to stand in support. And I'm speaking on behalf of the PUCL and Suresh, who's inside the courtroom. And of course, we are part of the larger struggle. Whatever we can do all together, we have to completely not allow this of our youngsters. Thank you.
Thank you, Kavita. I'd like to move now to Ram. Ram has been a prominent activist, social and environmental activist in Manipur or across the northeast of India, and started an organization called Indigenous Perspectives. Ram, over to you.
Hello, my name is Ram Wangkhairakkam. I'm from Imphal in Manipur. It's really, heart-soaking actually. It's not just, it's beyond that. For a person and for a place who has faced Armed Forces Special Powers Act in the Northeast and in Manipur particularly, where you can't speak against the army, you can't take the army to court, your house can be searched, and all of that without that has been stifled for a long time. You can't voice anything. But I think what's happening in India now is it's going beyond AFSPA. You can't. It's not just about the army anymore. You can't speak against a political party. You can't speak against something they're doing. You can't speak against some projects that they have taken up. Even a WhatsApp message. Here we have a BJP government too, and the train is across India too now. And even here, what we are facing is you can't WhatsApp, a text message, and on that the next day the chief minister, he himself will call you a Facebook message. And it's terrible because everybody is like, do I text this? Do I post this? Do I express this opinion? And unless I think we, in India and also in Manipur, the media, the civil society, the academics, that space has to be protected. And that space is being stifled. And I think it's high time that, people who are still sensible, media who are still sensible, the academics who are still sensible, the civil society who are still sensible, I think that space has to be protected. And I call upon the media who's here today to help space, create this space, protect this space. And that's it from me.
Thank you, Ram. Short and crisp. I think if there's questions about the Northeast in particular, you can respond later. Do we have Medha here? I'd like to call on Medha Patkar, well-known activist with the Narmada Bachao Andolan, National Alliance for People's Movement, and many other platforms and groups.
He's not logged in yet.
Okay, so we'll move on to Nagraj. Nagraj Adve, I mean, both the previous speakers have also spoken about parents and teachers. And I think Nagraj in particular would represent especially the teachers, the educationists, who I'm sure would be very concerned with what's happening. Recently they started something called Teachers Against Climate Change, and he's also part of the South Asia platform against climate change. Naga, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Ashish. Yeah, it's Teachers Against the Climate Crisis. So I want to make sort of 3 broad points in the brief time that I have. Firstly, I'm really worried about what these arrests do for the climate movement in this country. So I myself have been engaged with climate movement for the last 15 years. And for many years, there was no real movement, really. I mean, there were a bunch of many NGOs, other organizations, and of course, there were struggles related to climate. But over the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen in many, many towns, hundreds of young people sort of coming out on the streets and making very clear demands in the context of the climate crisis. And my concern is, what does the arrest do to the climate, that aspect of the climate movement? I spoke to a number of young people yesterday from different towns, and all of them talked about the fear and anxiety that young people and activists have, which other speakers have also touched upon. Particularly, there are people who are in their late school, in their 9th, 10th, 11th standard, who have joined the movement. Mind you, these are not experienced activists like others on this platform. These are people who are in the 10th standard, 11th standard, and they're all just terrified. So one considers that. What does this do to the climate movement of the country and the demands that they've been raising? Two, I think the context in which this targeting is taking place needs to be understood. It's partly, of course, the support for the farmers' agitation, but it's also two other contexts. One is the support that some of these organizations were rendering to the dilution of environmental norms under the EIA. And secondly, with their campaign against coal, and I think specifically targeting Adani in particular. I think it is these three contexts in which these particular arrests and targeting of the activists, I think, need to be understood. And and the kind of questions that they've been raising. I mean, if you look at the government report itself that came out last year by the Ministry of Earth Sciences, it talks about grave crises that are not just hitting already, but also what will happen in the years to come in case one doesn't move away from a very rapid sort of fossil fuel use and reduce global emissions. And also, in a sense, move away from a sort of mainstream development trajectory. And that is my third point, which is fundamentally, we've seen in the last few years that every single climatic event is made worse by your mainstream development trajectory. So whether it is the floods in Chennai that took place in December 2015 and the shrinking of the Pallikaranai wetlands, whether it is the blocking of the Methi River in Bombay in 2005, whether it is the Uttarakhand floods of June 2013, whether it is the latest event in Uttarakhand, whether it's the Kerala floods of last year, you take event after event after event, the mainstream development trajectory has worsened the impacts on poor people, right? So it doesn't matter what you think of the development trajectory. I mean, there are different perspectives on what a development trajectory might be. I'm sure even among the speakers today, there's no one view. That's not the point. But as a teachers group, we should say that different perspectives ought to flourish and ought to thrive. And people have a right to articulate those perspectives peacefully. People have a right to support peaceful protests peacefully. Perspectives and points of view can't be criminalized. That is a fundamental thing. It doesn't matter what your perspective is. And I think this is something that's essential for any government, for any elite. And then there's something that I would think that the media is something that they need to underline, that young people or anybody, any activist have a right to articulate a particular perspective, have a right to question the development trajectory. Questioning a development trajectory, and I'll just end by saying this, that interrogating a development trajectory is not questioning nationalism or the nation state or any such thing. That's rubbish. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you, Nagraj. If anything, one can say that these are maybe intensely nation-loving people who want to protect the environment and the future, their own future and the future of the country. I'd like to request Abhilasha Singh. Abhilasha is an alumnus of Mount Carmel College, which is where Disha also graduated from. So lovely to have you here, Abhilasha, bring in a very different perspective. Please go ahead.
Thank you for having me. So I would like to say that the situation we find ourselves in today demonstrates a breakdown in democracy and isn't something that has happened overnight. I see it as a pattern of consistent role playing where the state has cast itself as the actor and its citizens as the acted upon because of how unidirectional conversation has become. We've seemingly allowed ourselves to value structures over the substance of democracy, which I believe is the freedom to dissent and the right to access information, and even further information that is not under constant threat of state censorship. Restriction of independent voices and the lashing out by state machinery against voices of dissent are moves emboldened by the fact that the ruling government has been conflated with the state of India. Viewing any position against it is anti-national, and this of course is legitimized by elected officials referring to dissenting citizens as tukde tukde gang among other expletives. As I said, freedom to access information is of utmost importance in a democracy, and that is the process Disha had attempted to enable. As a working professional who isn't directly tied to the field of social science practice, I remember holding jobs that have required sinking 12 hours of my day into performing tasks that create ecosystems separate of the news. And that impacted the way in which I consumed information due to sheer fatigue. Creating a list of resources to aid someone in that position is no crime, least of all seditious. But it's not an easy position to take either in public or even on social media anymore because of how deep the fear of being labeled seditious is. None of this fear, by the way, is based on rhetoric where people, when people are being imprisoned. Nordeep Kaur, for instance, is barely being spoken about. And the fear of being silenced for having a contrary opinion and having no one speak up for you is not a condition that is reflective of a functional democracy. At this point, it more or less seems like we're a hegemony of a single group. And that's all I would like to say.
Thank you so much, Vilasha. And our last person on the panel was speaking, and then we'll open it up. And we also have a number of other people who can be there for responding. Last person is Sandeep Pandey. Sandeep is also a long-time social activist, environmental activist, started something called Asha for Education, and also one of the leaders of the National Alliance for People's Movement. Sandeep ji.
आशीष भाई, मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि हिंदी में बोलूं क्योंकि
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
तो मुझे ये बहुत आश्चर्य होता है कि दिशा रवि को आखिर किस बात के लिए उनका क्या कसूर था कि उनके खिलाफ ये कार्रवाई हुई। जहां तक मैं समझ पाया हूँ, वो जो ट्विटर था उस टूल किट में ऐसी कोई बात नहीं थी कि हिंसा भड़काई जाए। उसमें सिर्फ एक ट्विटर स्टॉर्म की बात थी, और ट्विटर स्टॉर्म तो ये पहले भी हो चुका है। अभी नागराज जी ने जो एनवायरमेंट इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट, पर्यावरणीय प्रभाव आकलन के प्रावधानों में जो तब्दीलियां की गई हैं, उसको जो कमजोर बनाया गया है, मुझे याद है कि उसी समय एक ट्विटर स्टॉर्म हुआ था ये ग्रेटा थुनबर्ग वाले समूह का, फ्राइडेज फॉर फ्यूचर। तो ऐसा भी नहीं है कि कोई पहली बार होने जा रहा था, और ट्विटर पे हो रहा था। मतलब एक वर्चुअल वर्ल्ड में कुछ होने जा रहा है सोशल मीडिया पे, उसको लेके वो क्यों इतने अपना खतरा महसूस करते हैं, जबकि आप देखें कि इससे कहीं ज्यादा गंभीर हिंसा की घटनाओं को इन्होंने खुद अंजाम दिया है। आप अगर हिंदुत्व परिवार की पूरे इतिहास को उठा के देखेंगे तो हिंसा से भरा पड़ा है। महात्मा गांधी की हत्या से शुरू करके बाबरी मस्जिद को गिराया जाना, मतलब अगर इस कोई सही में स्टॉर्म किसी चीज को किया गया तो वो तो बाबरी मस्जिद को था कि एक हुजूम आया लोगों का और उसने उस पूरे ढांचे को गिरा दिया। और उस पे जब न्यायालय में मुकदमा चला तो बड़े आश्चर्य की बात है कि किस तरह से न्यायालय ने भी सबको बरी कर दिया, जबकि उस बाबरी मस्जिद के गिराए जाने के बाद 12 मुसलमानों को अयोध्या में मारा गया। आज तक उसमें FIR नहीं हुई है। और ये घटना सच इसलिए है क्योंकि नरसिम्हा राव सरकार ने उनको आर्थिक मुआवजा दिया उन 12 परिवारों को जिसमें लोग मारे गए। और उसके बाद आपको मालूम है कि बहुत सारे सीरियल बॉम्ब ब्लास्ट की घटनाएं हुई, बंबई में हुई उसके तुरंत बाद, जिसमें याकूब मेमन को फांसी की सजा भी हो गई। तो जिस घटना की वजह से तमाम हिंसा की घटनाएं हुई, जिसकी वजह से भारतीय जनता पार्टी सरकार में आई, उसके बाद भी हम लगातार देख रहे हैं कि कभी मॉब लिंचिंग, कभी इंटेलेक्चुअल्स को मारा जाना और इस तरह की हिंसा की घटनाएं होती रहती हैं। उसमें तो हमने कभी नहीं देखा कि पुलिस इतनी त्वरित कार्रवाई करती है कि किसी को गिरफ्तार करके जेल भेज दे। लेकिन आप सरकार के खिलाफ कुछ बोलिए, आप कोई धरना प्रदर्शन कीजिए, आप कहीं भी इस तरह के किसी कार्यक्रम में शामिल होइए जो सरकार को लगता है उसके खिलाफ, तो उनके खिलाफ है तो FIR हो जाती है, लोग जेल चले जा रहे हैं। ये अजीब सी हालत इस देश के अंदर पैदा कर दी है इस सरकार ने। और कई बार लोग कहते हैं कि इमरजेंसी है जैसे हालात आ गए हैं। मुझे लगता है कि इमरजेंसी से कहीं गंभीर हालात हैं, क्योंकि इमरजेंसी में तो जो लोग जेल गए वो 2 ही साल जेल में रहे और फिर छूट गए, और वो सारे पॉलिटिकल लोग थे। लेफ्ट और राइट दोनों तरफ के लोग थे, लेकिन पॉलिटिकल लोग थे। लेकिन इस तरह से तो नहीं हुआ कि कोई आप 22 साल की लड़की को, जिसने सिर्फ ट्विटर पे कोई मैसेज भेजा हो, उसको आप गिरफ्तार करके उसके बिना माता पिता को बताए हुए आप बैंगलोर से दिल्ली ले आए और फिर जेल भेज दें। तो हमारा मानना है कि जो दिशा रवि ने किया या उसके साथियों ने, अभी ये खतरा निकिता जैकब और शांतनु मुलुक के ऊपर है कि शायद उनको भी जेल भेजा जाए। ये जो कार्रवाई सरकार कर रही है, हम इसकी निंदा करते हैं। और जो किसान आंदोलन के समर्थन में उन्होंने किया, जैसा हमारे नागराज भाई ने कहा कि ये तो सारे जुड़े हुए मुद्दे हैं, किसानी का ताल्लुक है पर्यावरण से, इसलिए दुनिया के कहीं भी रहने वाले किसी भी नागरिक को ये जो हिंदुस्तान में आंदोलन चल रहा है उसका समर्थन करने का अधिकार है। जिस तरह से किसी घर में घरेलू हिंसा की घटना होती है तो घर वाले ये नहीं कह सकते कि वो उनका अंदरूनी मामला है, इसी तरह से हिंदुस्तान में जो इस समय किसान आंदोलन चल रहा है उसके समर्थन में कहीं से भी कोई भी अगर अपना समर्थन देना चाहे किसी भी रूप में, अगर वो शांतिपूर्ण ढंग से कर रहा है, ये उसका पूरा अधिकार है। और ये जो सरकार नागरिक अधिकारों का हनन कर रही है, ये हमारे लोकतंत्र के लिए इतना बड़ा संकट हो गया है कि अब तो हम सब नागरिकों की जिम्मेदारी है कि हम मजबूती के साथ इस किसान आंदोलन के साथ खड़े हो जाएं, क्योंकि ये किसान आंदोलन तय करेगा कि भविष्य में हिंदुस्तान में लोकतंत्र रहेगा कि नहीं। भविष्य के हिंदुस्तान में जो नीतियां बनेंगी, क्या वो आम लोगों के हित में बनेंगी या वो कॉरपोरेट के हित में बनेंगी। इस तरह के महत्वपूर्ण आयाम को, दिशाओं को तय करने वाला ये आंदोलन है। और हम सबकी जिम्मेदारी है कि हम इसके साथ खड़े रहें, और जिनके ऊपर भी ये कार्रवाई हो रही है, दंडात्मक कार्रवाई, हम उनके साथ मजबूती के साथ खड़े हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
बहुत धन्यवाद संदीप भाई. Meera, over to you to handle the discussion.
Thanks, in fact, to all the speakers who very crisply but very powerfully put forth solidarity messages and also gave us the larger context within which this entire spate of repression is happening. And as Sandeep bhai very rightly towards the end put it, injustice can never be an internal matter. So all of us must be outraged, all of us must stand in solidarity. That is both our right and duty. I'll just very briefly read out a message from senior environmentalist and anti-nuclear activist Lalita Ramdas, and then we will go over to the press friends to take a couple of questions. Lalita ji has sent her message with apologies for not being able to be present today. Our idealistic, committed and fearless young sheroes and heroes deserve the wholehearted support and encouragement of every thinking citizen of this country, this region, and indeed from around the globe. That they are being treated like criminals and terrorists is indeed a sad commentary on the mindsets and utterly condemnable display of deliberate bigotry and misuse of power by the agencies of the state. As a woman in my 80s, as a loyal and responsible citizen of India, and as someone who supports and abides by the directive principles of the Constitution, I want to tell our leaders that we should celebrate such young women, one like Disha Ravi or Nodeep Kaur, and countless others, instead of hounding and brutalizing them. If we do not raise our voices in support, then who will? If we do not do it now, then when will we do it? So this was a powerful message from Lalita ji. We now open it for questions. You can either write it in the chat box or friends can unmute and directly, please very briefly introduce yourself, from which media house you are, and then you can ask your query. And also if your query is addressed to any particular speaker, maybe you can also mention that.
May I just say that in the chat box, we have shared the press release in English, in Kannada, and I believe in Bengali as well. You just have to scroll up. I'll repost it in case some people have joined later, so that everyone has access to it.
We also have environmental activist Shripad Dharmadhikari, Nityanand Jayaraman from Chennai, Leo, Vinay, Clifton, and many other sathis from different states. And any of them also can probably respond to some of the queries. So if any of you have queries, अगर कोई साथी हिंदी में भी सवाल पूछना चाहते हैं तो कृपया पूछे, चैट बॉक्स में आप लिख सकते हैं या आप अनम्यूट करके अपना सवाल पूछिए.
There's one question in the chat, Meera, RM.
Yeah. Okay, this is Rohini Mohan from the Straits Times. The question is, I'll just read it out. Since the FIR is a broad one and Disha is only the first to be arrested, are you preparing for more arrests? Anyone from amongst our speakers who might want to pick this?
Can speak or anybody else?
Yeah, Leo, maybe you can also just respond to them.
I just want to say that, yes, I mean, this is the type of climate of fear that the government of India is trying to spread across the country. But as you can see, the way in which people have responded, if you just take the petition which is online, the last time I checked, it was about 38,000 people have signed in. Most of them are people we do not know. That is indicative of the fact that the people across India are not in agreement with the approach that the government of India is taking, especially through the Delhi police. That said, I think it's also important that we should see it in the context of the fact that the farmers' movement is spreading across the country. And the farmers' movement yesterday had a very, very peaceful protest across the country. So people are very, very clear, be they farmers, fisher folk, or working class or students, that they are not going to engage in violence just because the government is engaging in violence against them. Violence is not merely the act of beating people. It is also the act of attacking freedom of expression. That is also the violence. Imprisoning the mind is probably the worst form of violence, which is happening in your own homes. The fact that people had freedom to just click and activize their freedom of expression is being taken away. So I think these responses that we are seeing the last 1 week are incredible. And it's not just activists are under attack, journalists are under attack, academicians are under attack. And there is no civil society organization which can escape this. So in time, I think more and more people will realize that they need to step up and speak out, and without being bothered by this climate of fear which is being spread across the country. At least an attempt is being made. I recently traveled from the west coast of India to the northeast of India. And everywhere I went, I felt that, democracy is very alive and people are speaking out.
Specifically on the question, Rohini, there are non-bailable warrants out for 2 more of the young people that are already named everywhere in the media, and there's full preparation for legally challenging that and giving the same support that Disha has been given, and any more that might come up. The Delhi police and others keep saying there are thousands of people involved, so we have no idea how many people are they're going to attempt to go behind. But there will be both public support and full legal backups available for them.
Can I just come in briefly?
Please, sorry, I'm not seeing who.
It's me, Kavita.
Kavita, please go ahead.
It's a I don't know how many of you have read the FIR. It's a very scary FIR. I'll try putting it on chat. They've just only applied sections, the sedition and hate speech sections and conspiracy. But when you read the FIR, it's so scary because they call it some kind of an economic warfare was being undertaken. So they're going to apply UAPA sections related to that. They are also targeting, they're calling the 26th January incident as some sort of violence which was instigated by this toolkit. And many other things, but third, they're showing the association with a banned organization. So it's very scary that we may start with no section or one section. The vindictiveness of the state is going to be such that our young activists, and it's not going to finish with 3 or 4. The FIR itself talks of a conspiracy at a very macro level, and they know of the various organizations involved. We have to stop them today. We have to stop that nobody else gets arrested. We have to build an environment that the Delhi High Court gives them and gives the anticipatory bail, continues with it to Muluk and Jacob. We have to prevent any further arrests and application of any other sections. This will only happen if there is a strident movement against this kind of persecution. So otherwise, it's a damning affair. It's horrible, those 2 pages. Apart from they are controlling the media, is the way the media is presenting everything, the Gautam media, there's hardly any counter towards that. So I think, yes, many more will get arrested at this rate. Charges, UAPA section 15 and all other sections that they usually put, and association to the banned organization, all that will come in. But we need to simultaneously do something to prevent it. I mean, that's what I would say. We cannot afford to get them to go as others have gone.
We have a couple of more questions. KM Rakesh from the Telegraph asks, in such a scary situation, how do we convince youth to do what they were doing and fight for their rights?
Maybe Abhilasha can respond to that.
Right. So I believe that if you believe in something and you have certain convictions, you will push against whatever stands in your way. And that is the only thing that we can think of doing at this point, because I wouldn't imagine myself stepping back unless and until something were to threaten my life. And with the solidarities that we've built along the way, I see this as a fight worth fighting, and something that we can capably pull off.
Thank you. I think there's also been outpouring of youth group solidarity messages for what has been happening, and all the youth environmental groups that have been involved in the past and continue to be involved are also continuing to issue statements, even though there has been this so-called chilling effect for a lot of people, but it does seem that young people are not backing down. So that's a good sign. And we need to absolutely give the kind of confidence that was also earlier spoken about, कि इन सब चीजों से डरने की जरूरत नहीं है. As long as we're standing together, we can get over this. Meera, I think और सवाल भी हैं शायद.
It's an interesting observation come question from Shirali Chaturvedi of the Mojo. They say a section of society largely claimed that the farmers' movement to be contained within the northern part of India. However, with the arrests made, whether it is of Disha and the subsequent targeting of others like Shantanu and all, it proves that the movement has actually galvanized the whole nation, and there's a question mark over there. So anyone wants to give a brief comment on that?
Maybe Ram from the Northeast, and many of our people, colleagues are from the South here. So.
I invite Vinay to address that.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Vinay, if you can just introduce yourself also.
Yeah, this is Vinay Srinivasa, an advocate from Bangalore. As far as the question itself is concerned, I think in Karnataka, we have been seeing protests against the farm laws from September itself, and we had a Karnataka Bandh on September 28th, because Karnataka had amended its own state farm laws back then. And we've seen protests happening across the country, including Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, etc. Secondly, I just want to also point out that Kavita ji spoke of the FIR. Well, the FIR has a lot of things. One point to be noted is that nowhere is the offense made out, the offense of sedition, which Disha is charged with. Disha is neither named in the FIR, nor does it say anywhere in the FIR or in any document shared by the Delhi police so far as to where the offense is committed. What is the offense that is committed? Was there a call for violence that Disha or like anybody else has called for? So that offense itself is not made out. And that's not just the only illegality, but as you may all know, there have been a series of illegalities performed by the Delhi police, in one, neither informing the Bangalore police nor allowing Disha to have access to an advocate. not producing her before a magistrate here to get transit demand. There are violations of MHA's own orders of 2012. There are violations of Delhi High Court judgments on interstate arrest and investigation. There's a violation of CRPC Section 80. There's a violation of the Constitution Article 22. A delegation met the Home Minister of Karnataka today to apprise him of the illegalities. A civil society delegation had met the Bangalore City Police on Monday and submitted representation asking for action to be taken against the Delhi police. But given that there was no action in 4 days, the delegation met the Home Minister, and the Home Minister said that he appreciates the concerns and that he will be calling for a meeting with the Advocate General and with the police within 2 days. A point to be mentioned is also that this is a direct attack on federalism, when Delhi police can go to any state and pick up anybody without informing the local police, all because the Delhi police works under the center. It's a point to be noted across all the states of India that this is something that we must address, and this is something that we must work on. The last thing is this incident has also seen outpouring of hate speech. It was led by Anil Vij, minister in the Haryana government, who called for Disha and people like her to be exterminated. In Bangalore, a complaint was filed with the police asking for an FIR to be registered against Anil Vij, and no action has been taken till today. And we communicated this to the Home Minister of Karnataka, Shri Basuraj Bommai, also today, who's assured that he will be looking into this. Thanks, Ashish.
Thank you, Vinay. There's also another question from Sibi in the chat box, basically asking, have any international bodies dealing with climate change related issues such as the UN Environment Program for Climate Change, have they issued statements or are there any efforts from Indian groups to reach out to them? Would anyone want to pick this up briefly? And also, as a society, our scientific temper is being eroded, and also legal provisions are being used, and this is dominating science. How can this be addressed? Naga, would you want to very briefly?
So let me just respond to the last bit, maybe a couple of points. One is that as a member of a teachers group, I mean, that fundamentally is our role. And that's what we've been doing ever since our formation. It's up on our website to understand. And in a sense, there's so much talk of Greta nowadays. I think one consistent message in all our sort of public interventions is how much of the climate crisis is based fundamentally on science. And that's part of what, as a teachers group, we try to bring out. And, you know, if you look at this, you can just look at the ministry's report. The ministry's report of June 2020 from IITM, the ministry, you know, is a very first-rate report which talks about current climatic changes that are already taking place. It talks about what will happen in the decades to come if we don't intervene, if we don't cut, if the globe as a whole does not sort of cut down fossil fuel emissions sharply. It talks about areas of India that will basically be unlivable. I mean, vast region, the Indus Basin, the Ganges Basin, essentially being unlivable. We're talking of tens of millions of people here if we don't intervene with greater urgency. This is a fundamentally science-based report. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, you know, the Earth system, you know, doesn't sort of pay too much respect to its laws. It doesn't matter what we might do with our laws. The fact is the Earth system responds in a way that it will respond. And that's one thing. The second thing is, notwithstanding what I said earlier, which is the way in which these young people are being terrorized, the fact is that the objective conditions are going to intensify. Climatic, that's just part of the way in which the Earth system is conditioned. Climatic impacts will necessarily, which I mean that the objective conditions in which people are going to protest are going to worsen. So it doesn't matter what laws you throw at them, you know, people are going to protest because you're changing their very basis for life and livelihood. And we're talking of millions of communities. We're talking of fishers, we're talking of small farmers, we're talking in particular poor women. In my view, poor women in this country are already the largest social group already being impacted by the climate crisis. So if you take water, if you take agriculture, if you take groundwater, just name it, right? So my point is that, yeah, that you're changing the objective conditions under which people are going to protest more and more. So our role as teachers is to do 2 or 3 things, to make the science accessible and simple to anybody who's interested in multiple languages. Secondly, to make the connection between the climate crisis and a broader development trajectory. And 3, to make the point that different perspectives are valuable. Teachers don't push for one single perspective. They push for multiple perspectives. Let multiple perspectives thrive. That's the most important thing.
Meera, can I just respond quickly to Sibi's question on the international campaign? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Are you speaking, Sibi?
No, I was.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Meera?
Yeah, Ashish, go ahead.
हाँ नहीं वो सीबी का जो सवाल था ना उसको just to briefly respond to that. So I think I mean one of the things is that we've been civil society response to this in India has focused in the last few days on two things. One, making sure that there is public support and legal support and backup for the young people who are being against whom action is being taken. And secondly, to generate much greater public opinion from different sections of society from within India itself. Separately, there is a move to also reach out to the UN, various UN human rights and special rapporteurs who deal with issues like that. We haven't yet activated the international civil society, but on their own, in fact, yesterday onwards, I think a number of groups, especially NRI groups, people who work for Dalit human rights or farmers' rights, etc., or other kinds of organizations in different parts of the world where Indians are based, have started campaigning, and we expect, of course, that kind of global campaigning will increase on its own.
Yeah, I don't see any more questions over here. We also have Manshi from the Himalayan, representing the Himalayan organization. So Manshi, would you want to give out a brief message of solidarity? If your internet is good, that is.
Maybe
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
हाँ सुनाई दे रहा है मांची.
So I just want to say, 2-3 things. One is it is really kind of really disappointing and shocking. Not very shocking. The arrests have taken. It's part of the way it has been happening earlier also in the country, and the unlawful arrest, part of the current regime's intolerance for dissenting voices. That is one thing that I want to say. And it is horrifying the way the whole anti-India fake narrative is being used to create fear and divert from real issues. But just want to say that it is very, very inspiring that young people are coming out in solidarity with the farmers' protests, because these are the real concerns of our time and will have a bearing on the future. And from the Himalayan region, I just want to say that as far as climate change is concerned, we've just seen a kind of the Uttarakhand tragedy, a small but very, very deeply, again, shocking and moving account of what can happen because of the climate emergency in frontier regions like the Himalayas. And we need more and more people to come out and speak about it. And instead, the government, instead of trying to address some of these issues which are claiming the lives and livelihoods of people, is busy trying to just suppress dissent and suppress voices that are raising all these issues. So I just want to kind of say that. Thank you.
There are a couple of questions. One is from Shirali Chaturvedi and the other is from KM Rakesh, kind of interrelated. So let me just address that. Rakesh is asking, basically, commenting that in such a scary situation, how do we convince youth to do what they were doing and fight for their rights? And Shirali,
Leo, we've addressed those.
Okay, fine. All right.
Yeah. The first 2-3 questions were addressed, and I think we've addressed all of them.
All right.
एक तो हमारे जो 4 डिमांड्स हैं उसके साथ भी मुझे लगता है कि करना चाहिए. But Meera, please go ahead. I think you were going to ask one or two other.
I also wanted to request, since Milun is here, Milun Kothari, would you briefly also like to speak and extend your solidarity message? Milun has also been, as many of us know, has been involved at the international level on issues of housing rights and human rights. Milun, if you can unmute and speak briefly.
Also, if Priyanka is here.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question. Can you just?
No, there wasn't any specific question, but if you have a comment to make or a message of solidarity to give out.
Yeah, of course. Actually, we are, the human rights groups, the working group on human rights in India and the UN. We are coordinating with Ashish and other people to try to access the UN, the Human Rights Program. And I'm sure there will be a response from some of the special rapporteurs. So there is an attempt being made, and I think it's a really good time to do this because it's so many of these issues are coming together in India. And I just wanted to, of course, offer complete solidarity and support, and how inspired we are all by what the young activists are doing, and also to say that the youth are rising in all parts of the world, and I think this is part of we have to also see it as part of a global movement. So all my support and the support of our groups. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Milun.
Meera, I think we should end with the 4 demands maybe, and then.
Unless, one last round of, do we have any more questions because there are still a couple of press friends here. So I just thought we would ask if there are any other questions. Otherwise, we'll spell out the demands in the press release. Yeah, so maybe I can just read out the demands. Angrezi mein padh dun kya? So all the 3 organizing groups, SEGI, NAPM and PUCL, which have jointly organized this press conference, we demand the following. 1, that Disha Ravi must be released immediately, withdrawing all charges made against her. Warrants against Shantanu Muluk and Nikita Jacob must also be dropped, and no further action should be taken against any youth who have been supporting the farmers movement and the other social and environmental justice causes. The second one, an open dialogue must be initiated with youth, environmental and social action groups and their well-justified concerns about their futures to come up with policies and programs that can safeguard India's present and future generations. A national level transparent review of legal provisions like sedition and of laws like UAPA must be initiated with the intent of replacing them with provisions and laws that help secure the people of India within a framework of constitutionally endowed democratic rights. All processes of decision-making on development, environment, and livelihoods must be deeply democratized, ensuring the core involvement of vulnerable communities and sections, including women, youth, persons with disabilities, LGBTQI communities, and other affected and interested citizens. Do we do this in Hindi or? Yeah, we'll put the demands in the chat box as well. It's in fact in the press release. I'll post the press release link once again. Ashish, would you want to take it on and conclude? Or even before we conclude, if there are any brief solidarity messages that any other friends have and want to put out, I think we can just do a couple of minutes of that. We have friends from the Delhi Solidarity Group over here. We have friends from the Focus of the Global South, from Manthan. So lots of organizations in solidarity with young people So the message is also clear and loud that young people are not alone, and we are not going to be silenced if those who are asking the most fundamental questions that matter to the democracy today, they are not going to be left alone. All of us across various constituencies, across various states, across various struggles, affiliations, stand solidly with the young people who are facing repression today, but continue to raise these key questions of the state.
बिल्कुल मुझे लगता है कि इंडियन सिविल सोसाइटी एंड पीपल्स मूवमेंट्स हैव विथस्टूड many tests in the past, going back to the political emergency and many others. We will withstand this one also. I mean, situation today is very different. It's even more dangerous in some ways. लेकिन जिस तरह की आवाज़ लोगों ने उठाई है, उठाते रहेंगे, और अलग अलग सेक्टर से उठाई, और खासकर फार्मर्स मूवमेंट से जो गैल्वनाइज हुआ है, वो पूरे देश में और पूरी दुनिया में लगता है कि we're still very much alive and kicking and will continue to be so, and will support all the young people who are taking up absolutely the right and justified causes. So thank you all for joining, and we hope to continue getting support of the media and of course all other groups and friends who are here.
Thank you.